What kind of manager makes a new hire cry on her third day? Wesley Darnell couldn't shake the question, even as the plane touched down. He owned all 20 locations of the boutique hotel chain, bought it 6 years ago from a retiring couple who'd built it from nothing. It had taken him years to turn the struggling business into a well-run, profitable operation. But lately, something felt off. A few weeks ago, he started hearing quiet complaints about the hotel in North Haven. Minor stuff at first: front desk delays, missing breakfast trays. A bad review here and there. Nothing big. Still, he didn't like what he saw in the reports. The numbers looked fine on paper, but something didn't sit right, so he decided to see it himself. Wesley didn't believe in sending in auditors or district managers to do dirty work for him. If something was wrong, he wanted to feel it with his own eyes and ears. That's why he stepped off that plane wearing gray slacks, a company-issued name badge reading Greg, and a pair of glasses he didn't need. He'd shaved his beard and used a little dye to gray out his hair. The disguise wasn't theatrical, it was just enough to make him unrecognizable to people who'd never met the CEO in person. And North Haven's staff hadn't. He'd never visited that location since hiring the current manager, a guy named Brian who came recommended from another hospitality chain. He checked in like a regular job applicant. The front desk associate barely looked up from her screen. "Orientations tomorrow, 7 sharp. Bring black shoes," she muttered, handing him a paper folder. Wesley nodded. "Got it." The next morning, he returned dressed like a trainee. He joined a group of 4 new hires, one of whom stood out immediately: a girl with short auburn hair, nervous eyes, and a name tag that read Kara. She looked young, maybe 21. She kept her chin down, hands clasped tightly in her lap. She didn't speak much during the first hour of the training video, but whenever she did, her voice barely came out above a whisper. Around 10, the assistant manager, Gina, walked in. "All right," she said, clapping her hands. "Time for desk rotations. Kara, you're up first." Kara stiffened. Gina gave her a quick once-over. "Let's hope you're better at this than you are at making coffee," she muttered. Wesley's eyes narrowed. No one laughed. Kara stood and followed her to the lobby. He followed too, pretending to review a checklist. From behind the corner, he watched. "Okay," Gina said, standing beside the front desk computer. "You've got 5 minutes to remember the check-in script. Start." Kara hesitated. Welcome to a thank you for choosing no." Gina cut her off, shaking her head. "Try again, faster." Kara flushed red and started again. Thank you for choosing. You sound like a robot. Again." Wesley watched as this continued for 10 minutes. Every mistake was met with a sigh or a sharp correction. At one point, Kara fumbled a key card and dropped it. "Jesus," Gina snapped. "Are you always this clumsy?" Kara bent down quickly, whispering a sorry. Wesley's fists tightened. He looked around. The lobby wasn't even busy. There was no reason this had to be done here in front of everyone. He walked back to the training room, mind racing. Later that day, he caught Kara alone by the vending machine. "You all right?" he asked casually. She looked startled, then nodded quickly. "I'm fine." He tilted his head. "You sure? That training looked pretty rough." She hesitated, then shrugged. "It's just how they do things here, I guess." "I'm still learning." "Does it always go like that?" Kara paused. "Yesterday, I forgot the order of the checkout steps and Gina made me repeat it 20 times. The guy at the desk was watching the whole time." She tried to smile. "It's okay. I'm just not great at new stuff right away." Wesley's stomach turned. "That's not okay," she blinked. "It's not. No, good training doesn't make people feel ashamed." Kara looked down, her fingers picking at the sleeve of her cardigan. "I really want to stay here." "I need this job," Wesley nodded. "I get it." The next 2 days confirmed everything. Gina ran training like a drill sergeant. She snapped at the shy ones, ignored the nervous ones. Wesley watched her make a new housekeeper mop a hallway twice just because she missed a spot. Another trainee quit mid-shift after Gina berated her for wearing the wrong shoes. None of the other staff said anything. He spoke briefly with Brian, the manager, who seemed checked out. He spent more time in his office than on the floor. When Wesley asked about the turnover rate, Brian just shrugged. Newbies don't last. This job ain't for everyone. By day 4, Wesley had seen enough. That afternoon, he watched Kara fumble on a call and heard Gina loudly say, "You don't belong at a front desk if you can't speak clearly." Kara whispered an apology, her voice cracking. That was it. Wesley stepped forward, eyes locked on Gina. "Hey," he said calmly. "Can I talk to you for a second?" Gina rolled her eyes. "What now?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out his real wallet. He flipped it open, revealing his real ID. "My name is Wesley Darnell. I own this place." His voice dropped. "And I've been watching you." The color drained from Gina's face. Kara froze, staring at him in disbelief. Wesley turned to Kara. "You've done nothing wrong, and you're not the problem here." Then he looked back at Gina. "But we need to talk. Right now." The door to the manager's office clicked shut behind Wesley, the blinds still half open as Gina stood stiffly near the coat rack. She didn't speak. Brian sat behind the desk, half turned in his chair, face unreadable. Wesley folded his arms. "Sit," he said to Gina, nodding at the empty chair. She gave him a quick glance, then lowered herself into it without a word. He looked at Brian. "You knew I was coming at some point, you just didn't know when." Brian leaned back. "Didn't expect you to come in dressed like a bellhop." "You didn't expect me to care this much," Wesley corrected. "That's more accurate." Gina shifted in her chair. "If I'd known who you were, you'd have acted different," Wesley finished. "That's the problem." He walked slowly to the window, glancing out at the lobby. Kara had returned to the desk, her shoulders tense as she keyed something into the computer. The other front desk agent hovered nearby, silent. "I've seen how you speak to new hires," Wesley said, without turning. "I've seen how you correct them, how you humiliate them in front of guests, how you make them afraid to ask questions. That's not training, that's control." Gina sat very still. He turned back toward her. "You've been with us how long now?" 14 months. "And in those 14 months, how many entry-level employees have you helped grow into full-time staff?" She hesitated. "I don't keep count." "I do," Wesley said. "0. Brian cleared his throat. "I've tried to tell her to ease off a little." "No, you didn't," Wesley cut in. "You've been here longer than she has. You run this building. If this culture exists, it's because you allowed it." Brian's mouth opened slightly, but no words came. Wesley walked toward the desk and picked up a small stack of printed shift schedules. He flipped through them, then set them down and looked at Gina. "You've been short-staffed for 3 weeks straight. Instead of adjusting workloads or asking for help, you doubled down on training like it was boot camp. What exactly were you trying to prove?" Gina stared at the floor. "People don't respect soft leadership. They take advantage." "No," Wesley said. "They walk away from disrespect. That's why the last 3 front desk hires quit within days." She didn't respond. He turned to Brian. "You said this job isn't for everyone, but that's not what I built this company on. It's supposed to be a place where people want to stay, not where they survive long enough to leave." Brian rubbed a hand over his jaw. "We've had a tough 3 months. Occupancy's been up, we've had to stretch people thin. I figured it would ease up by summer." "You don't wait for culture to fix itself," Wesley said. "You shape it, or you lose control of it." Gina stood abruptly. "So what happens now? You'll be leaving," Wesley said. "Effective immediately. Your approach doesn't fit this company." "It never did." She blinked, lips tightening, but didn't argue. Wesley looked at Brian. "You're on leave until further notice. I'll be bringing in someone from corporate HR to assess this location from top to bottom. If you want to return, you'll have to reapply." Brian didn't look surprised. Just tired. Once they were gone, Wesley stepped out into the hallway, letting the door close behind him. He didn't head to the lobby, not yet. Instead, he walked toward the break room. Inside, 2 housekeepers sat at a narrow table, quietly eating from plastic containers. One of them, an older woman with braided hair and a worn uniform badge that said Dolores, looked up as he entered. "You're the new guy, right?" she said, then paused as her eyes narrowed. "Wait, you're not." Wesley pulled off the name tag that still read Greg and set it on the table. "No." I'm Wesley, I own the chain. The younger housekeeper's eyes widened. Dolores just leaned back in her chair. Didn't think we'd ever see you walk through here, she said. I didn't plan on coming this way, Wesley admitted. But I'm glad I did. Dolores nodded slowly. You here to fix things or just shake them up? Both, Wesley said. You've worked here a while, 5 years. Long enough to see this place change hands twice and run through 3 managers. What kept you here? She gave a small shrug. I like the guests, I like the rhythm. I don't like what it became lately. The way staff are treated, the way nobody listens anymore, Dolores said. Used to be we had meetings, feedback, somebody checked in on how we were doing. Past year, we just get told what needs doing, that's it. Wesley sat down. You ever say anything? Who would have listened, he nodded. That's on me. The younger housekeeper, whose badge read Marta, spoke up. Are you really letting them go, the managers? I already did. Marta looked stunned. What happens now? Wesley thought for a moment. Now we stabilize. We bring in interim support, we redistribute the workload, and we listen. Starting with you two. What do you need right now to do your jobs better? More hands, Dolores said. We're covering double rooms because we're short. Supplies, Marta added. We've been reusing carts between shifts. Sometimes we run out of towels before noon. Wesley nodded. I'll make sure both of those are addressed before tomorrow. He stood, then paused. One more thing, Kara, front desk trainee, have you worked with her yet? Marta nodded. She's quiet, real polite. Always says thank you. She's hanging on by a thread, Wesley said. If you see her struggling, give her a little room, she's not the problem. Dolores gave a short laugh. She's got more kindness than half the staff combined. We'll keep an eye out. Wesley left the break room and made his way back to the lobby. Kara was still at the desk, now alone. Her eyes flicked up when she saw him approaching. Can I talk to you a minute? He asked. She stepped away from the counter, brows drawn. I don't know what's going to happen, she said quietly. I didn't mean to cause any trouble. You didn't, Wesley said, but you did help uncover something that needed to be seen. I didn't do anything. You stayed, he said. That was enough. She glanced down, uncertain. I'd like to keep you on, Wesley continued. But I want to be honest. Things here won't change overnight. We're still short-staffed and there's going to be some transitional chaos. But I'll bring in a new manager by next week, someone who believes in building people up. Kara nodded slowly. I'd like to stay, I want to get better at it. You will, Wesley said. But not by being broken down first. She looked at him then, really looked not like someone trying to read a stranger, but like someone seeing a person for the first time. Thank you, she said. Don't thank me yet, he replied. We've got work to do. He headed back to the office to call HR. There would be a team flying in within 48 hours. He'd stay through the weekend, help cover shifts if needed. He wasn't going anywhere until the foundation was stable again. And next time, he wouldn't wait for the numbers to tell him something was wrong. The next morning began early. Wesley arrived before 6, dressed in a simple polo and slacks, no name tag, no disguise. He wasn't undercover anymore. He needed to be seen. The lobby was quiet, lights dimmed to save energy before the day staff arrived. Kara was already at the desk, headphones in, shoulders hunched as she reviewed a laminated binder of procedures. She didn't notice him until he stepped closer. You always come in this early, he asked. She pulled out one earbud and looked up. I couldn't sleep. Thought I'd get ahead on the check-in flow. I keep blanking on the reservation screen. Wesley nodded. It's a lot to remember, but that's not something you should be doing alone. I didn't want to fall behind. He looked at the binder. The notes were handwritten, margin crowded and highlighted in 3 colors. The handwriting wasn't hers. Who gave you that? Dolores. She said she made it for her niece last year when she applied here but ended up getting something else. She let me borrow it. Wesley smiled faintly and flipped a few pages. She's got clearer systems than half my operations team. He set the binder down gently. Go take 15, you'll be sharper if you've eaten. Kara's eyes lingered on his, unsure. This isn't a trick, he said. She nodded, tucked the binder under the counter and walked toward the break room. Wesley stepped behind the desk. The front desk terminal was old. He'd approved a system-wide upgrade a year ago, but apparently this location hadn't implemented it. He pulled up the task logs. Transaction times were slower than average, and guest complaints flagged in the notes were often left unresolved or marked handled without details. The elevator dinged behind him. A tall man in a black vest stepped out, yawning as he adjusted his tie. His name badge read Evan. "Morning," he said, stopping short when he saw Wesley behind the desk. "You're the night shift supervisor?" Evan nodded. I clocked out 10 minutes ago. You're just now heading out." He rubbed his eyes. Charlene called out again, no one to cover the handoff. "I stayed to set up the breakfast bins." Wesley's brow furrowed. "How often does that happen?" "Couple times a week. We've been short 3 people since April. Brian said HR was working on it, but nobody ever showed." "You been logging the overtime?" Evan gave a dry laugh. "I stopped bothering. Payroll's been rejecting anything over 12 hours in a shift unless it's a holiday." Wesley frowned. "Rejected?" Brian set the threshold, said we didn't have the budget to cover overflow unless it was scheduled. Wesley stepped around the desk. "Come with me." They walked to the office. Wesley unlocked the door and motioned Evan inside. The room still smelled faintly of citrus cleaner. Someone had erased every trace of Brian's presence overnight. The desk sat bare, drawers emptied. Wesley powered up the company laptop he'd brought and pulled up the payroll dashboard. "Show me the rejections." Evan leaned over his shoulder, scrolling through the flagged entries. The most recent one showed a 10-hour shift marked approved, followed by a 14-hour one marked denied unscheduled OT. "That's the one from Tuesday," Evan said. "I stayed to help maintenance after a pipe burst on the 3rd floor." Wesley tapped the notes tab. "No incident log on file." Brian said he'd submit it. "Never did." Wesley looked up. "Why didn't you push back?" "I tried." "He told me you want to get paid, you follow the system." Evan shook his head. "I needed the hours. I figured if I kept my head down, it'd work out." Wesley closed the screen. "You'll be paid for every hour, retroactively. I'll flag the last 2 months and have our corporate team audit the rest." Evan's shoulders eased slightly. "Appreciate that. You planning to stay long-term?" Evan hesitated. "Honestly, depends what this place becomes. It used to be better. But lately, it's been survival mode every week. It won't stay that way." Back in the lobby, Kara had returned. She was at the desk reviewing a reservation when a woman in business attire stepped through the front doors, wheeling a carry-on suitcase. Her pace was brisk, eyes scanning the room. Wesley stepped aside as Kara greeted her. "Good morning, welcome to Briarstone, North Haven. Do you have a reservation with us today?" "Yes, under Dr. Elaine Mercer," Kara typed carefully, eyes focused. "I see it here. 1 night, deluxe suite. We have you in 304. "May I see your ID and the card used to hold the room?" The woman handed over both. Kara checked the name, matched it to the reservation, and began keying in the check in steps. Wesley watched from a distance. Her posture was tense, but her voice held steady. She offered the room key with a practiced hand. "Here's your key card. Breakfast is served from 6 to 9:30 in the lounge. The elevator is to your left." Dr. Mercer nodded. "Thank you, that was very thorough." Kara blinked in surprise. "Oh, thank you." As the guest walked off, Kara turned toward Wesley, unsure if he'd seen. He nodded. "You handled that well." She gave a small smile. "I was trying to remember the phrasing Dolores used in the notes. It helped. We're going to formalize that training," Wesley said. "I want every new hire to have access to a mentor or guide. No more sink or swim." "Really?" he nodded. "And I'd like you to help develop it." Her face froze. "Me, you're learning it fresh. That makes you valuable. You see what's missing, what's unclear. That's something veterans forget." She looked down, then back up. "I'd like that, but I'm not sure I'm ready." "You don't have to be ready," he said. "You just have to care enough to want to make it better." She nodded slowly, as if the thought hadn't occurred to her before. Later that afternoon, a black SUV pulled into the staff lot. Out stepped a woman in a slate blazer with a clipboard tucked under her arm. Her name was Serena, a regional HR partner Wesley had worked with for over a decade. She wasn't here to observe, she was here to rebuild. They met in the office briefly. "Start with the schedules," Wesley told her. "We need immediate rotation help. Pull from the other properties if you have to." "I've got a list," she said. "And we're sending in a floor supervisor from the Boston branch to cover evenings. He trained under Liz, so he'll know how to handle the pace." Wesley nodded. "I want an open forum with staff scheduled for Friday. Give everyone a chance to weigh in before permanent changes are made. I'll coordinate." Before she left the room, he paused. "I want to ask you something. Go ahead. Have we ever done a staff development pilot at a single location? Not yet. Let's start here. I want a mentorship structure, cross-training, a feedback loop that actually functions. Use this site as a test case." Serena smiled. "You want to rebuild the culture from the floor up." "Exactly." She left to start the rollout. That evening, Wesley didn't go back to the hotel suite he'd booked for himself. He stayed in the break room, sitting across from Marta, who was finishing her second shift of the day. "I heard you're bringing in a new supervisor," she said. "Yeah, should be here by Thursday." She sipped from a thermos. "If they're anything like the last one." "They won't be," Wesley said. "And if they are, I want you to tell me, directly." She raised an eyebrow. "You really want housekeepers calling the owner?" "I want anyone who works here to believe they deserve to be heard." She studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "All right, then." He left the room after she clocked out and returned to the lobby. The desk was quiet, the evening shift having just begun. Kara was gone. Her shift ended 2 hours ago, but the laminated binder was still on the shelf under the desk. Wesley sat down in the worn chair and looked out at the empty floor. The hotel had a long way to go. But for the first time in a while, the quiet didn't feel like neglect. It felt like space to rebuild, to listen, to lead, and that was something worth staying for. By Friday morning, the undercurrent of tension that had haunted the hotel for weeks had shifted into something quieter, uncertainty, but with a current of hopeful attention. Serena had spent the last 2 days meeting with staff privately. Nothing dramatic, just one-on-one check-ins, surveys, a few observation rounds. No one knew exactly what would happen next, and that was fine. What mattered was that someone was finally listening and staying. The conference room on the second floor had been cleared out for the open forum Wesley requested. A folding table with a pitcher of water and a stack of blank notepads sat near the wall. Chairs were set up in a wide semicircle, not too formal, not too casual. Wesley arrived 10 minutes early, notepad in hand. Serena was already there, reviewing a short list of staff who'd confirmed attendance. Some names were expected, others not. "Dolores said she wants to speak," Serena noted. "She's earned the right," Wesley replied. By 10 past the hour, the room was half full. Housekeepers, front desk trainees, kitchen staff, maintenance. A few faces Wesley hadn't even seen during his undercover week. Kara entered last, quietly taking a seat near the side wall, binder tucked under her arm. Wesley stood in front of the chairs. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "I came here because something didn't feel right. I didn't know exactly what I'd find, but I knew I needed to see it myself." The room was still. I saw people pushed past their limits. I saw effort dismissed and voices ignored. That's not just a management failure. That's a leadership failure. Mine. No one moved. I'm not here to make speeches. I'm here to understand what you need to do your jobs without being worn down by them. Dolores raised her hand, then lowered it almost immediately. "You don't need to raise your hand," Wesley said. "Go ahead." She crossed one leg over the other. "We need predictability. If I don't know what floor I'm covering until I show up, I can't plan my time. I can't train anyone else. I end up rushing or cutting corners." Wesley nodded. "And who does the floor assignments now?" "Whoever's in the office. Used to be Brian. Lately, Evan's been doing them, but he's stretched." Kara spoke next, voice stronger than it had been all week. "We don't have a single resource that explains the front desk systems start to finish. There's bits and pieces, but no full guide. I've been guessing or asking Dolores." "I don't mind helping. Dolores added, but that shouldn't be her only option. Marta leaned forward. We also don't have a place to speak up without worrying we'll get pulled off a shift or told we're difficult. A few others nodded. Wesley made notes as each person spoke. No one interrupted. No one deflected. When someone mentioned a problem, they offered what they thought might help fix it. That was what struck him most. These weren't just complaints, they were attempts to be part of the solution. After 40 minutes, Serena stood to address the group. We're implementing 3 immediate changes, she said. First, shift schedules will be posted 72 hours in advance minimum. Second, we're assigning a temporary peer lead on every team someone experienced who can answer questions without fear of reprisal. Third, we're opening an anonymous digital feedback channel monitored outside this location. No more bottlenecking at the top. Wesley stepped forward again. That's the start. But I want more ideas from you what you do if you were running this place day to day. We'll collect every suggestion and meet again next week. The forum ended without applause, just a quiet sense of movement, the kind of movement that doesn't need noise to be real. Afterward, Kara approached Wesley outside the conference room. She didn't have the binder this time. I've been thinking about the mentorship thing, she said. He waited. I don't know how to lead anyone, but I could help organize the training notes, make them easier to follow. Maybe even record some examples. Wesley didn't hesitate. Put together a draft. I'll have Serena find someone from HR to support you. She nodded, then looked past him toward the hallway that led back to the lobby. I used to get stomach aches before every shift. You don't anymore. They're getting smaller. That afternoon, Wesley met with Evan in the office. He'd reviewed the updated shift logs and noted Evan had taken fewer hours this week. I noticed you didn't stay late last night, Wesley said. Serena's temp supervisor stepped in, Evan replied. I'm still helping with the handoffs, but I'm not covering everything anymore. You still thinking of leaving? Evan looked at the wall, then back at Wesley. Not right now. Wesley opened a folder on the desk. I've seen your notes on previous incidents. You've got a clear head under pressure. I want you to consider stepping into a permanent leadership role if you want it. You're offering me Brian's job? No, I'm offering you something better. A new position, operations facilitator. You'll coordinate across teams, not just supervise. You'll have input on hiring, training, and accountability systems. Evan didn't answer right away. Why me? Because you stayed when it was hard. And because you kept making things work, even when no one was looking. I'll think about it, Evan said. Take the weekend. Let me know Monday. By end of day Friday, the atmosphere on the floor had changed, not drastically, but there were signs. The kitchen had posted new prep labels. Maintenance had completed a backlog of light fixture requests. The front desk binder now had printed tabs, and Kara had started recording short walkthroughs on a borrowed tablet. Dolores had been seen laughing in the hallway with a junior housekeeper who'd nearly quit the week before. Wesley had dinner in the staff lounge, not because he had to, but because he wanted to hear what people talked about when no one was officially watching. The conversation drifted from weekend plans to new menu suggestions. Someone mentioned a guest who'd left a thank you note. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic, but it felt real. He left the hotel just after 9. Outside, the air was cool and quiet. The lot was half full. Night shift had arrived, day shift gone home. As he reached his car, Serena walked up, coat folded over her arm. You're not staying the weekend. They've got this, Wesley said, and I'll be back next month. You sure they don't need more time? They need space, he replied. And someone to trust them when they say what they need. She nodded. That's rare. It shouldn't be. He got in, started the ignition, and waited a moment before pulling away. The hotel behind him wasn't fixed, it wasn't perfect, but it was in motion. The kind of motion that comes from people who finally feel seen, and from a leader who finally remembered what it meant to look